Hi, my name is Amaryllis Henderson. I am an illustrator. I work mostly in watercolor, and I used to work as a designer, so I developed this love for typography that way. Today we're going to learn how to make a watercolorful alphabet. I know that's a mouthful, but it's just that awesome. So we're going to take the alphabet, find whatever font you like. We're basically going to trace over it. We're not looking to create a new font style so much as a new treatment of that font. Watercolor is so on trend, and so is typography, so why not combine them both? This would be helpful for anyone who is a designer or wants a reason to break out their watercolor paints and just try it out. I'm going to walk you through some basics of watercolor, and we will paint our letters, and if you'd like to take it a step further, you can scan them, and we'll talk about that, about making them more useful for whatever you'd like. So let's get started. Okay, so let's talk about what you'll need. Of course, you'll need watercolor paper, something that's not too rough. Other than that, you'll need a number 2 pencil, a round brush, watercolor brush, sable brush, of course, some water to go with that. And as far as paints, I'm not going to be picky and talk about brands here, but as far as a color scheme, choose 3 colors that are similar to each other. You'll also need a computer and a printer, and if you want to digitize your watercolor, you'll need a scanner, and we'll be using Illustrator. Now we're going to cover just a basic tracing method. If you don't have a light box, if you don't have carbon paper, if you don't have graphite paper, this is the way to go. All I need is my printout and a number 2 pencil. Obviously, I turned it over. I am covering all the edges that I'm going to end up tracing on my letter A. I chose to do Bodini. I like the serifs. They can be kind of tricky. You might like a simple Helvetica. And now I have my watercolor paper. It is Canson brand, 150 pound, cold press. Place my letter on top and start tracing. Of course, I'm pressing down pretty hard so that those lines show through. The purpose here is just to get that outline on the watercolor paper so that we can get to work painting. There it is. Now is the fun part. Now we get to paint. But first, I am painting with water. This is the wet on wet technique. So first I lay down water with my round brush, and I smooth it over basically where I'm going to have the paint be. Since it dries fast, I'm going to go ahead and get some paint and drop it in there. I selected a second color of those 3 that I'm going to use to just drop in and not blend a whole lot. I let the paint blend itself so that it looks more interesting and just really relish in that beauty of the watercolor. Dab a little more paint, dab a lot of paint into wet areas, let it dry, and voila, it's this beautiful watercolor. Alright, I took out my light box. It helps facilitate a lot of things, and it costed me about $30 at a hobby store. I placed my sheet of paper on top. I printed all the letters on it. You can do this in Photoshop, InDesign, Word, wherever. I'm taping it down loosely since I'm going to have another sheet of paper on top. Like I said, the font I used was Bodini. You, of course, are welcome to use whatever font you like. Taking out my watercolor paper, that cold press paper, it's about 140 pounds, and line it up. I'm not going to tape this down because I want to be able to manipulate it if something goes wrong with my painting. So if I paint this letter A badly, I can just shift my paper over and paint it again. Again, I'm doing that wet on wet technique. So I'm first painting with just plain water. And now I'll dip my brush in one of my 3 colors. This time I'm going with pink, orange, and red. In both color schemes, I'm going for an analogous color scheme. That means that the 3 colors I choose are side by side on the color wheel, kind of similar, so that when they blend in this kind of a technique, it doesn't look terribly jarring. They go together nicely and they can blend on their own, and I don't need to worry about how it's going to look pretty soon here when it dries. This technique makes you work a little fast because you want to lay in your paint before your water dries. But the fun part is that you can just dab it in, you can just drop it in and let the color, watercolor, do its own thing. There's my A. I wanted to show you my first few letters without the lightbox light. There it is. It's looking great. So I better get back to work. And here they are, all the letters, A through Z, in pink, orange, and a little red. Here's my alphabet, scanned at 300 dpi, that I pulled from Photoshop. As you can tell, it's one big image that I opened here in Illustrator. So I'm going to trace it. I'm going to take the easy route. I can use this image trace for high fidelity photo, or sometimes 16 colors works well. I'm going to go with high fidelity photo. It's going to take all those rasters and make them a million little vectors. As you can see, they're all grouped together. It's one big block. So we're going to ungroup them. Go to Edit, Ungroup. And now we want to remove all the white. So I'm going to select one thing that's white, then go up to Select, Same, Fill Color. So I grab all of those white pieces and delete them. So right now, all I have are the colorful parts. I'm going to use my lasso tool and hold it down to wrap around my letter A and group it. If you look at my layers palette, you see that all of these pieces are all done separately. And now that I've grouped my A, it's one nice little group. So I'm going to do the same thing with each letter until I finish my alphabet. Alright, so you see here I went through the work of grouping all my letters with my lasso tool, and I have the full alphabet. I made another layer because I want to show you just a quick idea of a way to use your letters. I'm going to make a cute little quote with my letters. I'm selecting all the letters I'm going to need, copy, paste them, arrange them, and we'll see if you can guess what I'm writing. Did you guess? Oh, I need a period, of course. Just doing a little grouping, a little aligning, so my print will look great for my friend, who I said this recently to because she's been such a sweetheart to me. And of course, you can do anything with your letters. I'm just trying to give you an idea of something that might be fun. Are you getting any ideas of your own? I hope so. Alright, so we printed our letters and we traced them and we watercolored them and scanned them and put them into Illustrator, made them vectors. And I want to see what you're going to create with your watercolorful alphabet. Post your project and I'd love to see it. I'm a human being behind this computer and I am happy to comment and answer any questions that you might have. I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial and I hope you use it, and I'd love to see how.